I remember that night so vividly. The way the air felt so charged and heavy with a storm that never came. My name is Lily, and I always thought I understood love until everything I thought I knew unraveled like a thread pulled too far. Alex and I had been together for nearly 7 years. The kind of relationship where comfort slips into routine so seamlessly you don't even notice. I loved him deeply, perhaps too deeply. Maybe that's why I never saw it coming. The betrayal, but before that night, Alex was my world. We had met through my best friend, Sophia. She had been there for me through everything. Our bond was unshakable, or so I believed. Alex was charming, with that easygoing smile that made you feel like the center of his universe. We built our lives together, brick by brick, believing we'd last forever. Sophia had always been a fixture in our lives. I adored her. She was practically family until she wasn't. It started with little things. I'd noticed how Alex laughed a little too freely at her jokes, how their eyes met just a fraction longer than usual. It was subtle, almost invisible, but once you see a crack, you can't unsee it. Doubt crept in, but I brushed it off. It had to be in my head, right? I told myself that over and over again. I trusted them both. I wanted to trust them both. But then, that night came. The night everything changed. I had planned a quiet evening for Alex and me. He had been working late for the past few weeks, and I thought a cozy dinner would bring us back to each other, like it used to. I lit candles, poured wine, and waited. Hours passed, and my heart started to sing with every tick of the clock. I texted him, but there was no response. His calls had grown sparse lately, but I convinced myself he was just busy. I never wanted to be the kind of wife who suffocated her husband with suspicion. But something in me, something I'd been ignoring for weeks, twisted painfully. Desperate for distraction, I called Sophia. No answer. I stared at my phone, the silence on the other end almost mocking me. Sophia was always quick to pick up. That's when my heart truly began to race. There was a gnawing feeling in the pit of my stomach, one I could no longer ignore. I grabbed my keys, not even knowing what I was doing, and drove. I just drove. I found myself near Sophia's apartment, a place I knew so well. But tonight it felt foreign, hostile even. Her car was parked outside, and beside it was Alex's. My hands trembled as I approached the door. My mind screamed at me to turn back, to forget this insane notion that was consuming me. But something inside me pushed forward, an invisible force. Maybe a kind of madness that only comes when you sense the destruction of something you love. I knocked. No answer. The silence pressed in around me. I tried the door, and to my surprise, it was unlocked. I stepped inside, the familiar scent of lavender and vanilla hitting me in the face. Her place always smelled like that. It used to comfort me. Now it felt suffocating. My footsteps echoed in the hallway, and that's when I heard it. A muffled laugh. Alex's laugh. I followed the sound, each step heavier than the last. my heart pounding so loudly I thought it might explode. The door to her bedroom was slightly ajar, and through the crack I saw them, Alex and Sophia, together. Through the narrow crack in the door, I saw Alex and Sophia entwined on the bed, their bodies moving together in a rhythm that was both intimate and devastating. His hands roamed over her bare skin, touching her in ways that were once reserved only for me. The way he looked at her, with that same tenderness, that same desire, it made my stomach churn. It was a sight I couldn't unsee, their passion igniting the room like fire, and it burned me from the inside out. Sophia let out a soft moan, her head tilted back as Alex kissed her neck, his lips tracing a path down to her shoulder. Her fingers dug into his hair, pulling him closer, as if she couldn't get enough of him. The room was filled with their whispers, their gasps, and the soft rustle of sheets, all blending into a symphony of betrayal. I stood there, frozen, watching as the two people I trusted most shared a secret world I had never been a part of. Each second felt like an eternity. Each movement between them was a dagger to my heart. Alex's hands gripped her waist, pulling her against him as he kissed her lips with a hunger I hadn't seen in him for months. They moved together in perfect harmony, their bodies perfectly attuned to each other, lost in their shared passion. The intimacy between them was undeniable, their connection palpable, and it made me feel small, insignificant. The love they made was fierce, raw, and it felt like it was a betrayal not just of me, but of everything we had built together. I could hear Sophia's breathing quicken, her moans growing louder as she pulled Alex closer, her legs wrapped tightly around him. The room seemed to pulse with their desire, the air thick with the heat of their bodies moving as one. It was a scene of perfect loss and abandon, and as much as it shattered me, I couldn't tear my eyes away. Every moment felt like a fresh wound, every touch between them a reminder that I had been replaced, that my love was no longer enough. The world stopped. Time froze. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I just stood there, staring at the betrayal unraveling before my eyes. My legs felt weak, as if they might give out from under me, but somehow I stayed standing. I wanted to scream, to rage, to throw something, but no sound came. The hurt was so deep, so raw that it felt like I had been split open. They hadn't noticed me yet, lost in their world of whispered secrets and stolen moments. I turned and left, my body moving on its own, numb like I was walking through water. I didn't stop until I was back in my car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring into nothing. How could they do this to me? The two people I loved most in the world, the people I trusted more than anyone, had shattered everything in one careless moment. When I finally drove home, I felt hollow, like a shell of who I was just a few hours ago. I knew I couldn't confront them yet, not while the pain was still this fresh, this raw. But I also knew nothing would ever be the same again. That night, I lay in bed alone, the silence of the house mocking me. I had to make a decision. Do I confront them? Do I leave? Could I forgive them? The questions swirled in my mind, but the answers felt distant, unreachable. All I knew was that the love I thought I had was a lie, and the trust I'd given so freely had been betrayed in the cruelest way.